Okay, well, hi Pablo.
Hey, how are
Delighted to meet you and welcome
Me
back
too.
to
Thank you.
the London Film Festival. We spoke to you, was it 3 years ago, when No was released, and
Yeah,
it's
I remember. Yeah, it's a
great,
pleasure to be here again. Come
great
on.
pleasure to have you back. If we could start by talking about the look and location of your latest film, The Club, which is startling. In Post-Mortem, I believe you used the same kind of anamorphic lenses that Tarkovsky used.
It's the same lenses we use now.
The same ones precisely, exactly.
Yeah.
And in No, of course, you used 1983 vintage pneumatic video cameras.
So tube cameras.
And so if you could talk a little bit about what you used on this occasion to get this particular look. That,
we were just talking about it. It's, you know, when we used to make movies on film, you would, you know, because of the film process is a very sort of chemical, physical process. And then after that, you have to wash it. You have to wash the film before you are able to manipulate it and to see something. That process would need water. So every water from every country is different. So that would really make the look of the film a little slightly different. And so a movie made in England would be different from a movie made in Italy. It would just look different. And you can remember that they have all looks differently. And same with an American movie or a Latin American movie. Today, that sort of chip of an HD camera or digital camera is potentially made in the same place or with the same technology, if you want to put it that way. So most of movies will really look the same, and that's very scary because it is, right? So because it's then they all look the same, they all look very sharp and with vivid colors, and it's this obsession of definition and resolution and how many Ks, 2Ks, 4Ks, 8Ks, whatever, and everybody's obsessed with that, and I don't understand it because it's just it looks so. I mean, to me, definition, resolution is for sports. You know, I love to see the World Cup in football or a tennis match in a very high resolution. I don't need it for film. I need identity and texture for a movie, atmosphere,
personality to the film. Yeah.
Right. So that's something that it could really belong and help the potential of that specific movie. So this time we used the same lenses we used in Post-Mortem, which is is a Soviet actually set. They made in the Soviet Union in I don't know 40, 50 years ago. But the difference with Post-Mortem is that in Post-Mortem we used another lenses from the same set, but this time we used another one that we did not use in that. In Post-Mortem we used the 30 and the 50, and this time we used the 35, which is another lens. And then we used a lot of filters, so it could basically create a very weird reaction on the sensor of the camera, so the sensor wouldn't know what it was actually recording. And if you would see the panel that would show you, sort of the instruments, it was like crazy. It wasn't really telling you what, but we were looking at it. So that's the, one of the advantages of shooting on digital. You can actually look at the image that you're recording. So we're confident that we knew what we were doing. But yes, I feel that this movie needed a specific look that it could sort of accompany and support the story that we were telling.
This is exactly it's cadaverous. It's almost like a rotting corpse at times. It's bleached and
exactly,
and dark,
and it's like and it deals with the essence of the movie. If you see, there's at the beginning of the movie there's a quote from the Genesis. And it's also the guys here putting on the poster. You can read it, and here is God saw that the light was good, and then He separated the light from the darkness. And in theology perspective, what it means is that God sort of is letting humans choose where to be. So it's an act of freedom where you are. You can be in a more light place, or you could be in a more dark place.
Right.
but we all know that we aren't like that. We are sometimes in a gray zone. That's what we intend to do with Sergio Armstrong, who is the DP. You know, we kind of try to find a texture that it would be in this, you know, you never know what time is it. Is it the morning? Is it afternoon? You only know when it's night because it's just dark, but the rest of the time is just a more unknown time. It's a little bit out of time, and I think that helps a lot. And it's just, I'd say that of course in movies, the stories, the plots, the writing, you know, the structure, the dialogues, the character development, the performance are very, very important. But there's something that's really, really important, which is, I think, the atmosphere and the tone. That's what really captures your imagination as a spectator, as an audience. So we work very hard to find the proper atmosphere for the movie. And then, of course, the silence helps a lot, the editing, and for sure the music, which is a key character in this movie.
Well, the soundtrack is remarkable. There's the sound of the waves, you know, playing at times. There's the bells tolling at the very end of the film. It's all very wonderful. What is it like you work with an ensemble cast? You know, you've worked with Alfredo Castro. He's appeared in your films. Amparo Noguero, excuse me if my pronunciation is not good, with your own wife, with your own brother. How does that operate precisely? I mean, do they commit long into the future? Do you establish your plans, 2 or 3 years ahead, and then say, right, everybody, you must?
Well, you know, it's a family, so we just do it together, and we've been doing it for many years, and it's a relationship of trust and respect as well, I think. So I have the luck that you know, they could trust me, and this time we did something very different from what I've done before, because this time we invite the actors, but we never show them the script. They never knew about their own character, about the story, or about the other characters. They just had a general idea what we were doing. They know that they were like, every one of them were priests, and Antonia's character was a nun, and they were all living in this house, but they didn't really knew how and why. So that was sort of scary for them at the beginning, but then what happens is that they got used to it, because it's a very particular method where the actors are somehow, you know, in a very mysterious position, and I think if you're able to capture that, then what the audience feels is they're looking at someone who's completely lost, you know, and I think that helps a lot for the
well, they are lost souls, of course. And,
they are, but that's why it makes sense. I think if you would have characters that they were very studied by the actors, and the actors could really control them and have all the emotional aspect and the control of them, it would probably be not the same. I don't know if it would be better or worse, but it would be at least different, that's for sure.
Well, I think it might have a more ostentatiously polemic feel. It might be more obviously didactic. In a sense, the beauty of the film is not only the force of what you're saying about corruption within the church, but also the kind of mysterious way the story unfolds, with kind of, as it were.
Yeah, I unfortunately, when you promote a movie, you end up talking about it, and you have to say what it's about, and you have to explain that it's a house that were priests, and blah 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 blah, whatever. And I wish you could avoid that. I wish you could just, you know, have the people going into the cinema and see it. You know,
sure, that
would be fantastic. But because the structure of the film is made in a way that you slowly discover that they're priests and who is who and all that. But it's very hard to do that now, because you have to communicate the movie. But yeah, it's a movie that has a suspense structure.
It does. Can I ask you one final question as we wind down? Your films always have an atmosphere of precise, meticulous research underpinning them, almost a kind of supporting understructure of documentary. Have you ever considered working in documentary? You're covering.
I love to.
social and political
Someday I'll
themes.
do it. Someday I'll do it. I love documentaries. I never done it. I'm a man of fiction, and I use that, and I feel that it's my place to express myself and to work with the tools that I know. But yes, of course, I think documentary can be very, very interesting, and could capture some humanity that only a documentary could do. But yeah, because my only thing that keeps me attached to fiction, and at least now, is the fact that I don't work with realism. I don't think my movies are realistic. I think they're very similar, which is not the same. So it would be hard to deal with realistic ways. Sometimes it's good to hide behind the illusion of fiction, because there's a place that you could say things in a very oblique way, and that is fascinating to me. But I'm sure you can also do it in documentary. I just don't know how to do it. I would have to learn how to do it, and I'd love to.
Well, I hesitate to ask this because I'm sure you've been asked it 1,000 times, but one of the reasons I asked that is we're speaking later in the week with Patricio Guzman about his films, and it almost feels sometimes as if both being Chilean directors that you are kind of coming at the same historic problematic of, you know, the Allende years and the Pinochet dictatorship from different perspectives. You know, from a fictional point of view, and Patricio from a documentary point of view. Have you any thoughts on that kind of relationship between your works?
Well, there is. We all come from a very small country in South America, and we are both somehow moved and struck by what the events of my country. But I think it's different because Patricio, it's a master. It's a man who has been able to deliver one of the most amazing documentaries ever made in history. So it's a guy that is, I think, way beyond what I could. I'm not trying to be fake modest here, but he's really an incredible filmmaker, and of course there are some things in common, because I guess we both believe that memory is essential, and that you believe
Absolutely.
that history is somehow the prologue of the present, and you need that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
Fresh out of time, and thank you for speaking to us.
Come on, thanks.
Good luck
My
for the rest
pleasure.
of the festival.
Please, thank you.
Wow, that flashed by.